Unreal conditionals in the past.
So up till now, we've talked about using only would have plus the past participle in the result clause. Other modals can be used, and I'd like to share a couple examples, again with the help of flags. Do you know this one? This is the French flag, the flag of France. I've been to France a few times and I enjoyed myself. I think I might have enjoyed myself more if I had learned to speak better French. So in the result clause, I used might have plus the past participle, and it expresses a possibility. Might have plus the past participle. So here's the second example. This is the Canadian flag, the flag of Canada. After college and somewhere in the middle of graduate school, I went to Toronto to visit a friend there. It was the only city I got to see because I didn't have much money to go traveling all around Canada. I could have seen more of Canada if I had had more money. So in this statement, I used could have plus the past participle, again to talk about possibility. Could have plus the past participle can express possibility or ability. So the truth, I wasn't able to see more of Canada. Why? Because I didn't have much money. And note that in that if clause, I had two hads. If I had had more money. To some ears it might sound strange, but it's correct because the past perfect is had plus the past participle. In that statement, my main verb was have, and its past participle is had. So if I had had more money, I could have seen more of Canada.
Let's review. Unreal conditionals in the past. These statements show situations that are untrue, meaning they never happened, unreal, meaning they're imaginary, or disappointing, meaning they're regrettable, things that we regret. Let's talk more specifically about those untrue situations. We might use the unreal conditional to emphasize the connection between two events in the past. For example, if I hadn't seen the ad, I wouldn't have found work on a cruise ship. And if I hadn't worked on that cruise ship, I wouldn't have spent time in the Bahamas. As for unreal situations, you want to imagine another possibility. For example, if my childhood home had been Buckingham Palace, I would have had few friends but a lot of room to play. Disappointing situations. You might want to express a regret with an unreal conditional. For example, if I had known Spanish, I would have had more conversations with Mexicans during my trip. Note the order of clauses. The if clause can come first in a statement, or it can follow the result. If I hadn't gone to Russia, I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have met my husband if I hadn't gone to Russia. Note that the comma is used only when the if clause comes first. If we're speaking, then we pause in place of the comma. Verb tenses. Use the past perfect in the if clause. Examples: if I hadn't gone to Russia, if I had lived in Japan. The past perfect is had plus the past participle. As for verbs in the result clause, most often we use would have plus the past participle. Examples: if I hadn't gone to Russia, I wouldn't have met my husband. I would have learned more Japanese if I had lived in Japan. Note with pronunciation, would have in fast speech sounds like would have. I would have learned more Japanese if I had lived in Japan. Might have plus the past participle expresses an unlikely but possible result. I might have enjoyed myself more in France if I had learned to speak better French. Could have plus the past participle expresses either a possible result or someone's ability. I could have seen more of Canada if I had had more money. There can also be progressive verbs in the if clause. Example: if it hadn't been raining, we wouldn't have shared a pleasant walk under the same umbrella. That's if plus the past perfect progressive.
So let's try an exercise.
In this exercise, put the verbs in the correct forms. For example, you'll read the statement to yourself, and then I'll tell you the answer. Answer: if Samuel Morse hadn't invented the telegraph, other inventors might not have created the radio, telephone, or television. And I'll note here that Samuel Morse is not the only one who had a hand in creating the telegraph, but he's the name that most Americans know. So here's number 1. Answer: if the Titanic hadn't hit an iceberg, the ship wouldn't have sunk. 2. Answer: the 13 British colonies wouldn't have become the United States of America back in 1776 if there hadn't been a war against England. 3. Answer: fewer countries might have formed if our world had remained one continent. 4. Answer: if intelligent humans had been living at the same time as the dinosaurs, they could have passed on a better understanding of those great creatures to us. 5. Answer: the people of Pompei, Italy, might have survived the terrible volcanic eruption of 79 AD if there had been some kind of warning.
Here's the final exercise.
In this exercise, read the following situation and then answer the questions using conditional statements. And of course, those conditional statements will be unreal conditional statements in the past. Was it a crime? Victor was a poor man with a wife and a child. His job at the grocery store paid little money. One day, the owner of the store caught Victor taking home fruit and a few canned goods. Victor was fired. 1. If you had been the store owner, would you have fired Victor? 2. If you had been Victor, would you have tried to explain your actions? 3. If you had been Victor's co-worker and had seen him take the food, would you have tried to stop him? One thing you can do with those statements from the previous exercise is to share them with a friend who's also studying English. If you still have doubts, you can send them to me. I'll correct them for you. Send them along to englishwithjennifer@gmail.com.
That's the end of our lesson on unreal conditionals in the past. Thanks for watching.